What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint post-show edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. We're going to talk about NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 2, which just ended a few minutes ago. So we're going to recap everything that happened. We're going to review everything that happened, give you our pros and our cons, what we liked, what we didn't like, any of the other kind of things we usually run down here. I am Tony Mango. I've got with me Callum Wiggins.
Hello there.
Hello. That's very, it's very low. Is that an indication of your perception of this event, or?
I mean, it's pretty light.
Yeah, that's true.
It's been two nights in a row now.
Yeah, so give a little bit of leeway to the Cowboy here for, sticking to this in a time frame that you normally wouldn't be doing because, I mean, it's what time is it over there? It's like 3 a.m, something like that.
Yeah, it's closing in on 4 now.
Yeah, so.
And I've got two more shows of this to do. So.
It's a little bit easier on my end when it's 10:49 at the moment.
I mean, my voice isn't meant to be like a reflection of the show because overall the show was good, but it was longer than last night, and I don't think it was as good as last night. So that's where I'm kind of sitting, really.
Yeah, I kind of feel a little bit of the same. We will talk, of course, some major positives that happen in here, but I got more negatives than I thought that I would, and I'm disappointed in not only some of the outcomes, but also the way that some things just went down, and I'm not feeling as high on it as I was hoping that I would be, or that I thought that I would be. I actually thought this was going to be the better show of the two, and I do like yesterday's overall better than today's.
Yeah, I'd say overall the flow of good matches was more consistent in the previous one. And even though I feel like the second half of the show started to pick up for the second night, it was kind of set a low bar early on with the first half.
Yeah, there are 6 different matches that we're going to be breaking down here over the course of this, so we want you to do the same thing. Let us know what your thoughts are from either end of the spectrum, whether you loved it or you hated it, and if you agree or you disagree with us, same kind of thing. Drop a comment below. If you're in the live chat, like I see that Peter's in the live chat. What's up, Peter? Then chat it up in the live chat. If you're not, then pop on over to the YouTube channel and leave a comment afterward if you're listening to this beyond this point. Or you can send a tweet at SmarkOutMoment. You can do something on the Facebook page or on our group, facebook.com/group/the Megamaniacs. There's also, of course, just a page on smarkoutmoment.com where you can leave your comments and then, kind of give us another perspective out of this, because maybe there's something that we both like or didn't like that some of the people out there aren't feeling quite the same about. But while you're over there doing that, especially if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already, and ring that little notification bell to be aware of when we go live for these things, just the same as we're going to be doing for WrestleMania. And we're actually going to be doing video for the WrestleMania one, so you'll be able to see our lovely faces on that. I could have it set up tonight, but I decided, in the grand scheme of things, I think I'll keep it just as a special thing for WrestleMania. So, I don't know, maybe midway through this, I'll change my mind and I'll just put my webcam on or something. But in any fashion, if you are hanging out or you're listening to this afterward, thank you for listening to this. And really quickly, before we get into the actual stuff here, I'm going to get into just a couple more plugs just to make people aware of a few things here. I'm going to switch over to my not my webcam thing, that's the wrong thing, my screen share thing. There we go. See, that's almost what we ended up getting. You're gonna tease for tomorrow. On here on the page on smarkoutmoment.com, you will see 3 different things on the sidebar here. 4 things if you count the Smark Madness tournament, which if you click on the Smark Madness tournament, you can see this is our finals, WrestleMania versus SummerSlam. Go ahead and vote while you can on what is the best pay-per-view name of all time. But also, if you want to get any of these things, we've got an NWO t-shirt that you can win with our latest giveaway with TV Store Online. There's also one of them for an Edge Funko Pop, sponsored by Fun.com. And then over on FanboysAnonymous.com, you will see one for a Baron Zemo Funko Pop. So maybe you're really into the dance that he did on the most recent episode, and you want to kind of celebrate that with a little Funko Pop or something. While you're over on Fanboys Anonymous, by the way, hit that like button and the follow button and the subscribe button and do all those same kind of things that you would be doing for Smark Out Moment, following us all over on all the different platforms that we've got. and just kind of, having some fun and hanging out with us in whatever fashion. Also, I forgot to mention this yesterday, but check out the merchandise shops, TeePublic and Redbubble. They're on there for both of the different websites. So if you want to check them out, go ahead and check that out and pick up some t-shirts or something and help us grow in some kind of fashion. Same thing for the Patreon. If you want to make sure that we do anything in particular and you want to make sure that you can help us get to that next stage where we are doing crazier content and more content and maybe even specific content with the Pick Your Poison tier. $1 goes a long way. The more and more people donate, the more that we can bring you guys. So thank you to all the people who show any support in any fashion, including Christopher Marin in the chat right now and Guest 5 in the chat right now. What's up, guys? So let's get into the card. And let's talk first things first with the pre-show. We had a similar setup to what we had last night. We had Mickie James and Jimmy Smith and Sam Roberts hanging out and talking about some stuff of the usual breakdown of, these are the matches that are happening, whatever. Even more so, I like Jimmy Smith now. I think that 2 nights in a row doing a good job. I'm like, you know what? Bring this guy back. I like him. We did get a match, just like yesterday. Yesterday we had the Zoe Stark and Toni Storm match. This time we had a number 1 contenders match for the NXT Tag Team Championship. It was Breezango against Killian, Dain and Drake Maverick, with Maverick and Dain winning. I like the match. Good enough.
Yeah, I guess it was okay. It was just really there.
Yeah.
And it just feels with Dain and Maverick, why would they even get an opportunity at a number 1 contendership match? They never win. Surely it would have made more sense for it to be Breezango versus Imperium or something.
Yeah, I mean, if they would have gone in that direction, but maybe this is just to do something for the sake of it. That way MSK gets a win, and it does feel a little bit better that it's a number 1 contenders match than if it would have been for nothing, Oh,
yeah, I appreciate adding the stakes to it. It's just, I mean, the only way I'm going to have any sort of real enjoyment out of this if it's just leading to Dain destroying Maverick and turning heel and joining, I don't know, Imperium or something, or joining Pete Dunne's crew.
Oh, I could see that. We don't know when Ridge Holland's going to come back, so I think somewhat recently there was something floating around that maybe he was back in training a little bit, so maybe pretty soon, but I'd be okay with Dain joining that crew if that was the case.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any real longevity to this tag team. So if they're given a title shot, they're not going to beat MSK for the title, so I just want to see some sort of progression with the story, because I think Dain has a lot more in him to just be, I guess, just to be heavy for another, like, more main event heel. And Maverick, you can do stuff with Maverick in the Cruiserweight division, which they haven't really exploited since the end of the Cruiserweight tournament.
I'm a huge fan of Drake Maverick. I want him, I think I put this on my wrestling news thing, I want him to win the Cruiserweight titles. I want him to win the tag team title at some point. I want him to be a future Hall of Famer. And I don't know if that's really heading in that direction right now, but I've liked this team more than I thought that I would. And I don't think that they have the slightest bit of a chance to beat MSK, but, I mean, it might lead to a fun match at the very least. But more importantly, I think if you're going to go with just a random match on the kickoff, at least since it's for a number 1 contender spot, I like that a hell of a lot more. So thumbs up on my end. Can't really complain.
Yeah, I got to just put it like in the middle, because I wasn't super impressed with the match. I mean, it was fine, but even if it was for a number 1 contendership, I knew that neither team was going to win the title, so I didn't really care still.
Yeah. I will say, I'm not a fan of Poppy. Just not my thing.
Yeah, I'm sure if Rob was here, he'd be defending it quite vociferously, but I couldn't really tell what she was singing because the music was too loud.
Yeah, and I just don't like this type of music. Everybody's got their own vibes. Some people are, they're into big band music, which I hate. Some people are into, I don't know, EDM or something like, some people like country. I'm not a fan of country at all. And when it comes to that more screaming side of things, I just don't ever like it. So to me, a musical performance is already something that I'm not a big fan of on WWE shows. I can tolerate it a little bit more if they're performing somebody to the ring, like Wally now is going to be doing the entrance for Big E this weekend. That's like, all right, well, he does the song, so that's cool. But not really digging the poppy thing, so not also digging the lag again. Twitch was a solid 2 minutes ahead of the Peacock feed. That's a shame. It's not gotten any better. Maybe things will change for WrestleMania. I don't know. I don't think so. We'll see. They're supposed to potentially have that pause button set up by Saturday. That would be a big change. I would say that would be a big upgrade. It's not really an upgrade because we had it before. So it's a step back into the same direction. We're not in the negatives as much anymore, I guess you could put it. You're still using the regular network and having a ball. So,
yeah, I guess so. There weren't any sort of problematic issues. So
yeah. So we started off the night with the NXT Cruiserweight Championship ladder match to unify the titles. We got Santos, Escobar, and Jordan Devlin. What do you think about, speaking of music, Escobar's new music?
I don't know what they did hiring whoever these people are that are doing the music.
Downgrade, huh?
What? Yeah. Why don't we make everybody's music as generic and interchangeable as possible?
Yeah.
Because I listened to his music, and then I listened to Kyle O'Reilly's new theme and Adam Cole's new theme. Obviously, we'll talk about that in the main event as well. And just okay, basic rock music with some sort of ethnic flair to it.
Yeah, I like the previous Legado del Fantasma theme so much better. It's not even really like a fantastic theme, but at least it's got a little bit more of like a melody to it. And this, no, it's a downgrade. Not a fan.
I like Jordan Devlin's one.
His theme doesn't seem to fit him to me, though.
Like, it feels more like, I don't say serial killer-ish, but it's more like creepy. It's more a Dexter Lumis type vibe.
Exactly. If you were to swap those two, I still don't think that Dexter Lumis's theme would work for Jordan Devlin, but at least that would suit Dexter Lumis more. And I don't know, when Devlin comes out and it's got this, like you said, like a serial killer kind of vibe to it, like that could be the theme for something like, I don't know, I wouldn't say Hannibal, because that needs to have some kind of like a classical flair to it, but I've never seen Dexter. Maybe Dexter. And again, that's what Lumis patterns himself off of. Either way, I don't think that it suits him, and I don't really like Escobar's new theme, and I agree with S5 in the chat. Bring back Jim Johnston. Johnston didn't have 100% success rate, but he made a hell of a lot of themes that were just iconic, that's for sure. And at least they had like more of a distinct flair to them, unless he just copied and pasted like he did with like Razor Ramon and Stone Cold, I did like this match a lot, though. We had a moonsault from Devlin off the ladder. We got, I like the spot when Devlin fell back off the ladder. My favorite part of the match, probably, more than anything, was something that I don't think was necessarily planned. I don't know if they planned it, they were able to do it in a way that, hats off to them, but there's a drop kick spot where Escobar drop kicks the ladder, and then it bounces on the top, and then the middle, and then the bottom rope, and then lands on Devlin. And that just, I don't know, it's like watching a slinky or something. I thought that was fun. Now, you're not as big on this match, right?
No. I think it's hard to really watch a ladder match and then by the end of it, basically immediately in my head say, I could probably name 50 ladder matches that are better than this one.
You're not going to hear an argument of me that it's the best of all time, that's for sure.
No, but I don't even think it wasn't really anything revolutionary. I thought the best spot was the moonsault off because Devlin landed that absolutely perfectly. I feel it was really weird in terms of the crowd alignment because they were clearly cheering for Escobar, but by the pattern of the match, they were making Escobar the heel.
Yeah.
because he was the one that was like kicking at Devlin's face constantly. I enjoyed pretty much. I don't want to say like definitively in that regard, but for the first half of the match, I enjoyed everything that didn't involve a ladder. The things that involved the ladder, I just felt, okay, I've seen this done a million times before. The moonsault, I've obviously seen people do high spots off the top of a ladder before, but the fact that he was right on the very top of it and did a picture-perfect moonsault made it stand out a little bit more. But the rest of it was all kind of paint by numbers. And then the Legado del Fantasma turned up, and they just pushed Devlin off the ladder and knocked him into the steel steps, and then just left. And then the match continued as if they'd never appeared in the first place.
It was a little bit weird that he like shooed them away.
Yeah, he just sent them away, and then Devlin took over again, and nobody came back out to help him again. And the crowd still seemed to be behind him rather than Devlin, even though he just clearly cheated and got two other people to try and help him. The final push off with the headbutt was fine, but you could see it coming from a mile away. Like, oh god, there's a ladder slightly folded in the corner there. I wonder what's going to the end of this match is going to be. And yeah, so it's not so much just due to the fact that these guys did work hard, and I'm not saying it was a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the ladder match is so overplayed in WWE and NXT in general that you need to really do something special to make me actually care about this now.
Yeah, fair enough. We've seen a million ladder matches at this point where just doing a spot where somebody gets hit with a ladder doesn't really do it anymore as much as it used to. Back in the day, I mean, somebody throws a ladder at somebody else and it's like, oh my god, this is the highlight reel for the next 10 years kind of a thing, you know? These days, not quite as much. And yeah, it's not going to live up to the hype of some of the other ones. It's not going to stand the test of time compared to a lot of other ladder matches. But I liked it. I thought it was good. Handicap, the Cloud in the chat says, I liked most of the Cruiserweight match, and I'm a sucker for those end ladder spots. Guess what I'm saying? Bog standard. Not bad, nothing special.
Yeah, that's kind of the road that I'm taking. It's like, this is what you would basically say is I don't say 5 out of 10 ladder match, but it's like you said, it's bog standard. It's what you'd expect. Some high spots, some cool looking moves, and nothing. Again, there wasn't one spot in this match that I felt was really standout or different from any other ladder match I've seen before.
So Escobar wins. I am very happy about that. Not only is it the most logical outcome because he is the one that's stateside and can defend that championship more often and not on the pre-taped in front of nobody BT Sports Studio kind of environment, but Devlin was champion from January 2020. I think he already ran through everything that he was going to do. There's nobody else on the NXT UK roster that would be an interesting enough challenge. Escobar's got a lot more people, so I'm very, very happy with the outcome. That's for sure.
Has Escobar got a load more people to feud with?
Yeah, he's got...
basically everybody in NXT UK is under 205 or... to be fair, everyone in NXT is basically under 205 and under 205 as well in terms of weight classes. So I guess he does have more by the virtue there's probably more people in NXT, but there's nobody that I particularly want to see him feud with over the Cruiserweight title right now. Like Kushida is the only person I want to see him feud with.
Let me bring up my my roster list, my little handy dandy roster list, and take a look and see if there's anybody that stands out to me. Because Kushida is the first one that I can think of, but then again, I do think that there's probably some other people. I mean, technically speaking, you could get away with like, it's not going to happen, but you could be like, oh, Adam Cole against, whatever, because I think he's under 205.
Well, they were both announced as 200 pounds in the main event, so.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, there are a number of people like the August Grays and Kurt Stallions who he's fought before, and I don't really want to see them go back to again, but I'd like to see a match against Brian Kendrick. That'd be kind of cool. I'd like a real thing with Drake Maverick. They kind of swept that aside a little bit. I don't think that he's had a true match with Jake Atlas yet. I think maybe that's only like a one match type of deal, though. I don't want to feud necessarily.
Didn't he have like 3 matches with Jake Atlas over the Cruiserweight Championship?
He did?
But, yeah, towards the end. I don't know whether it was the start of this year or towards the end of last year, but they definitely had like a street fight over the Cruiserweight title on NXT.
Wasn't that Swerve Scott?
No, that was well. He has obviously feuded with Swerve Scott, but he also feuded with Jake Atlas after that as well. I know that because because the whole thing about the formation of Legado del Fantasma was him beating up Jake Atlas, because we all thought that Jake Atlas was going to join them because they were kept like assaulting him, but they didn't take him away like they did the other guys.
Wow, I'm blanking on that. I remember the people getting abducted, but I don't remember that Jake Atlas was a part of that. Yeah. Sometimes it just gets lost on you. But yeah, I mean, I do like the idea of even like Mansoor. I'd like to see him in that range. NXT UK, nobody really stands out to me as anybody I want to see feud with Devlin. And he could do that for the Heritage Cup.
I guess it just reinforces my belief that this title just doesn't belong anymore.
It kind of outlived its usefulness. And
yeah, well, it's just like you're in an era where everyone's a cruiserweight, so you don't need a cruiserweight championship. Or if you are going to have a cruiserweight championship, you need to severely restrict the weight bracket to about, I don't know, 180, 175, something like that.
Yeah, then they have like nobody. Then it ends up being like, oh, well, then everyone have nobody.
Because everyone is somewhere in weight class between 180 and like 210 pounds.
Yeah. I don't know who would be the smallest on the roster. I would assume it's either A-Kid or Drake Maverick.
I'd assume it's Maverick.
They seem like they're the tiniest overall.
But maybe Reginald. He's pretty short.
And Leon Ruff might be.
Yeah, he's one of the smaller ones as well.
I got a feeling Reginald's probably higher up than Ruff. I don't know though. I don't know. If anybody knows, then let us know. You know, if anybody wants to go ahead and look at all that stuff. I don't have any of that information. So that's our undisputed champion going forward. And there was a neat little moment where his son was out there. He sold one of the little championships. I like that. It's not going to be something I put down on my end of the year awards. It's like Smark moment of the year or anything. But I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Moving on to the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match. This, I honestly was not a fan of. And I wasn't a fan of a good majority of it. I think that they're all capable of a better match. I think that I didn't really like the idea that, I don't know why, everybody feels the need to do these suicide dives constantly, but Shotzi damn near got herself injured really badly during one of those. It's not worth it because everybody does it, so stop doing the super dangerous move that nobody pops for anymore. Peter brings up the Ember thing. Why is Ember Moon doing the DX suck it?
I don't know.
It has no context to this.
Do things that got other people over when you can't do it yourself.
No, talk about the Young Bucks with the Too Sweet, I guess, and the super kicks and everything else too.
Yeah, but then they got over, so it's like
in a weird meta way. But
I think trying to compare the Young Bucks to Ember Moon is like,
well, yeah,
you're already punching there.
You gotta kind of compare it on a different scale, you know. It's not quite exactly the same. It's not apples and apples. Was there another 3 count played off as a 2 count in this one? I couldn't go back because there's no rewind function yet on Peacock, but I could have sworn that at one point during this match, there was another one of those 1, 2, 3, oh, they kicked out kind of things.
I honestly I didn't notice.
Anybody in the chat, if you caught it, let me know. It might be mistaken. I don't know for sure. Because sometimes, you know, like when the referee kind of throws herself down or, you know, there's just like another foot hits the floor in a different way or something. It just kind of sounds like it. But could have sworn that there was another 3 count, which if they did that 2 nights in a row, then somebody's got to figure something out here, you know. Oh, Peter says Ember Moon did it for Road Dogg.
Oh, okay.
That's a little bit better then. At least there's somewhat of a reason for it.
I mean, he was doing the punching. She was doing the punching thing, so it does check out in that regard.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll give him a little bit of a pass when it comes to that. Then, still something that it took me out of the match because I didn't catch that little bit, so I was just like, oh, she's just doing that now. Like, is is Indi going to start doing the Undertaker's rest in peace in the middle of this match? I don't like that the way he didn't win.
I mean, I didn't care. I expected the Shotzi and Ember were going to win. So I was very, very, very convinced that the Way weren't winning the titles.
I thought that they had to, because I thought at this point, Candice hasn't won any championship, and if she's not going to win this now, then she's just not going to. And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of just my bias, but I was just like, well, you got to give Candice something at some point. She's got to win one of these matches. But no, not the case. I did like Peter's suggestion that he had mentioned before it got started about the idea that maybe they would win the championship and then celebrate with Johnny Gargano, and then immediately afterward Gargano would lose, and then it would be like, oh, we were champions all at the same time, and then Gargano loses, and it's like, crap, there goes that. It was only for a moment. Instead, we did kind of the opposite, but we'll get to that in the next match.
Yeah, they were just like, I was mainly just picking out a few little details, mainly from the really start of the match. So when they made that entrance on the tank, it seemed like Shotzi had to remind Ember Moon that she had a championship that she needed to bring to the ring. Because Ember started heading to the ring, and then Shotzi got into her and said, you got to get your title right. And so she then decided to pick it up. This is a really small, minor detail. Maybe I'm the only person that noticed and would be slightly annoyed about it. But, they were doing the thing all night where you had their names on the backdrop.
Yeah.
Where you'd see like Balor versus Kross or something like that. But this one, it had Shotzi, Ember, Indi, and Candice.
The first names.
And it's like, everybody else had their surnames. Even in the women's title match yesterday, it was Gonzalez versus Shirai. It wasn't Raquel versus Io. And I just feel like that's the first name approach is very diva-ish.
Yeah. The Maria and Candice Michelle and...
Yeah, I just feel like that's a bit... I wouldn't have gone with that approach, but it's not like it's a massive glaring sign or anything like that. I just felt it feels a little weird that this is the one match they decided to do that for.
Ember and Shotzi don't have a tag team name, do they? I don't think I have them down as having a tag team name.
No. I think that it's something like they're saying like welcome to the fire pit and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm getting sick of the welcome to the ball pit thing.
No, they did that promo in the start, like on the pre-show, and they're just so unlikable in their promos. I just want to go to, why are you shouting all the time? And Ember's now doing a mixture of things like, I never get Ember's character. The fact that she was supposed to be, when she first came in, they were doing like the kind of more ethereal thing where she was come out and do the howling at the moon type of stuff. And it looks a bit more the contact lenses. And now she still looks like that, but she just talks in a normal cadence. It's like when Kofi was still kind of not doing the accent, but still coming out to the Jamaican music.
Yeah, so, I get what you mean. She needs to kind of settle on what sort of character she wants to be. Because right now...
And that's the idea of like Ember's law is the thing now. So
yeah, and even that is basically just sort of like, well, there's a pun. Her name's Ember. What can we find on idioms and phrases? That kind of a thing.
Yeah, I'd tell you that it was just obviously the I guess the big spot of the match was the missed dive, and Shotzi Shotzi is going to get injured pretty badly one day doing a move like that, and at the end it kind of feels like I don't want it to happen. I don't want to speak it even into existence, but it kind of feels like it needs to happen, and it needs to be. Obviously, I don't want it to be bad, but she needs to get injured doing a move like that, hopefully only minorly, so she learns to stop doing it.
It looked really bad.
Yeah, because she's just putting her body at risk for no reason whatsoever. There aren't even obviously there were some fans in the crowd, but there's no one really there to watch it, and no one's going to miss the fact that she did a suicide dive or anything like that. She can do moves that have the same sort of appeal, but are a lot safer. And also we have to mention the fact that it's not entirely Shotzi's fault. It's also the fault of Candice and Indi not catching her.
Right. Yeah. And I think that it's a little bit awkward too when you do that kind of a dive when you've got that barricade as close as it is, because it kind of makes you maybe, I don't know. I'm not the type of person who's ever done this, so I can't speak on like experience, but I would think that it might give you an extra second's worth of hesitation to not ram your head into the actual barricade, so you might jump a little bit differently or something. But it's just one of those things that I don't think you should be doing anymore. We've seen Ivar and Big E and Sasha, when she does a lot of these moves, it's just like, God, that's gonna, don't do that, like it's not worth it. Tope is like, it used to be, oh my God, a tope, this is wild. Well, you do it 15 times in the same night on multiple episodes of all the different wrestling that we can see from WWE and AEW. It's a DDT now. So don't do it.
DDT used to be a big move as well.
Exactly. DDT used to be the thing that would like, oh my God, he hit him with a DDT. He's not getting up for a week. And people do 15 DDTs in a row and somebody, gets right up like they're Hulk Hogan or something. So don't do the topes anymore. They're far more dangerous and you just don't get enough of a reaction to make it worthwhile. And I don't know where they're going to go with this going forward because
Tian Sha. It's obviously Tian Sha.
Well, they're the only team.
Exactly.
That's it.
So it's obviously Tian Sha.
But if they're going to just do that, then...
Well, they'll just fight random teams for a while, or they'll just do singles matches. It's like this is the issue. The issue isn't the fact that... Well, the issue is the fact they don't have any tag teams, and that's the issue. The fact that they shouldn't have a separate NXT Women's Tag Team Championships.
Yep.
But the fact that they have them, we can't do anything about that. So eventually they'll just have to face a bunch of random teams before dropping it to Tian Sha.
Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to having that chunk of time where they end up just fighting Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade, and then they fight... I don't even know who. They don't really have
Jessica Mayer and stuff like that.
Yeah, Mercedes Martinez teams up with just somebody for the sake of it, whatever it might be. I don't really like that stretch where you're just waiting for them to do the next thing because they have nothing else to do. And we still haven't even seen Mei Ying in a match because all she's done is she's blown some smoke up, not up, not Caden Carter's ass, blown some smoke up her ass. She's really touting her as being great. That's all she's done. So now I don't even know if I'm excited about Tian Sha because I'm a huge fan of Xia Li, but I don't know about Mei Ying. Karen Q has been in 2 matches, I think, because she got injured a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure I've only seen her in the Mae Young Classic, and I can't tell you too much about her. So I'm not going nuts over that. And if you're going to have to wait a couple months or so just to get around to the next obvious thing, I'm going to be looking back on this and I'm going to be going, man, we really don't need these tag titles. It really could have just been keep it a cross-branded thing for the main roster and actually go to NXT once in a while. But, that's how it goes. Cloud says, every time I see someone do a dive through the ropes, I grit my teeth and hope they're okay because a good chunk of them look scary. Yeah, at this point, that's the bigger appeal, is being afraid for them instead of actually being like, oh, what a great move. That was cool. It's just like, oh, don't hurt yourself. Oh, okay. Oh, are they okay? Okay. Now we can move on. That kind of a thing. Yes, 5 makes a point as well. Didn't the next match end with a DDT? Yes, it did. Different kind of DDT, though. But the way comes up short in the one match, but they did find a way for Johnny Gargano to retain the North American Championship in the next one because he fought the colossal Bronson Reed. With a little bit of help from Austin Theory, he came out on top in a match that, to be honest, I felt underwhelmed about.
I thought early on this match was a bit slow and lethargic, but I think by the end of it, I was really starting to get into it and enjoy it. I do like the whole story of the fact that Reed is so much bigger than Gargano, that Gargano was trying to constantly wear him down, like doing the thing with the slingshot spear and bouncing straight off of him. That was cool. And then basically Reed just towards the end, after he sold for a little while, is just doing as much power stuff that he possibly can do, power slams, stalling suplex into a DVD, blocking a standing sliced bread and then hitting a suplex straight out of it. And then also taking some cool bumps like the reverse Frankensteiner thing as well. The razor's edge from the ramp into the ring. I think I honestly think that these two put as good a match as they possibly could do together. So yeah, I have no issues with that. It's like a single thumb up for me for this one.
I don't think that a match like this works as well when Gargano is the heel.
No. Well, no. It's very rare that you have like a small, agile guy against the big hulking monster, where the monster is the baby face. It just makes it seem a little bit unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, obviously, we'll talk about unrealistic. We'll get to the main event soon, but that sort of stuff can be okay. And I think Reed, I'd say with the constraints they have with that regard, they had as strong a match as they possibly could do, really. You did still think that Reed was having to fight from beneath. I think maybe they should have, and I'm not someone that likes interference and stuff like that, but maybe they should have had Austin Theory get involved more to try and level the playing field and make it seem a little bit more like the heel thing. For Gargano, it's like, oh, he can't outmatch Bronson Reed, so he has to use Theory as an equalizer more often.
Yeah.
So I think this is the one match where you can get away with it, but people would shit all over it. But people would shit all over it because they do interference in matches that don't need interference, like the ladder match from earlier. And so that's why it would have been annoyed. It makes situations where like this, where interference would actually help the story of the match. It means that people don't want to see it because they see it in too many matches.
Right. Just the same as a regular DQ or a count out or any kind of interference.
Yeah, it can be effective
like
in the right circumstances.
Right. That's one thing that I'll give AEW is they typically don't end things with a DQ. But I'm going to preface that or supplant it with something else and saying the main reason why AEW doesn't do the DQ is because they just have the referee go, hey, stop it, and then just lets the interference lead to a win anyway. So they have their own problems when it comes to that. But I liked a couple moments here and there. I liked the powerbomb, the Razor's Edge that Bronson Reed had done when he tossed Gargano into the ring. Anytime that Reed can do something that is very athletic and agile, I like that. If he does a cartwheel or if he does some kind of a splash from the top rope or something, that's always fun. But I just really didn't overall. I got nothing really to say about it. I didn't like it as much as I was hoping that I would.
No, I can only say it was a good match. I can't say it was like one of Gargano's most epic takeover matches of all time, but I think given the circumstances and who he was wrestling, I think it was as good as it could be. I mean, I liked the there was an issue, I think at one point there was a bit of a botch where Gargano was going to go for a top rope Hurricane Rana. And I think from there, Reed was supposed to turn it into a powerbomb.
I think so.
Yeah, and Reed, or Gargano, whoever it was, lost their grip. And so Reed just quickly turned that into just a standard jackknife powerbomb, which, again, it's good recovery. And then he goes for the moonsault, misses it. And I think as soon as he missed the moonsault, I was pretty convinced that he wasn't winning. Because then Gargano hits the 2 DDTs and gets the victory.
Right.
I can't say I'm a fan of the finish. I don't think that Gargano should have retained here because I don't think it does anything for him to win, to keep holding the title here. I don't think it does anything for the championship particularly, and it makes Reed's efforts in the previous match seem a bit pointless.
Although you can make the argument he went through a battle royal and a gauntlet match. Battle royal being a couple days ago and the gauntlet match being just the night before. So if he wouldn't have, then maybe he would have won. But then again, he already had the size advantage anyway. So at this point, I look at it more as, all right, well, Bronson Reed's not good enough then. And then that's not how you should be taken away. You should kind of be taken away more of, wow, isn't Gargano impressive? But then that's kind of a babyface thing. So then that flips that whole dynamic again. And overall, I want babyface Gargano back. I like underdog, the next incarnation of Daniel Bryan, Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, it's a far more preferable character. The issue is that, well, and again, it's an issue that I think Rob's brought up, and I think we've all brought up at one point or another. There's just too many people in NXT that have been there too long. And so they can't just keep the same babyface Gargano, because everyone will turn on the eventually, because they always turn on characters that not because they're babyfaces, but because they're stale. And so they had to switch up to do this way thing and him being a heel, but it's not as good as when he was a top babyface. But the only way they can really remedy this is to get him out of NXT.
Yeah, and for the matter, I like the way. I just don't like it when he's up against people that are bigger than he is, where I'm kind of cheering for him, because then it defeats its own purpose. And if he was up against, say, I mean, we see like against Kushida, for instance, I think it worked better. Or if you would have had him against, I mean, he's a heel, but like against Cameron Grimes, it's easier to cheer Gargano because he's more of a likable heel than Cameron Grimes is. So if you needed to do some kind of thing like that, and then they're a little bit more in the same size range and everything, so I would have been cool with that. I wouldn't have wanted to see Leon Ruff win. I wouldn't have wanted to see Scott win, because then he's another heel, then yeah, kind of like no momentum kind of a situation. You think they're going to just go back to the Loomis thing, or you think that they pushed that aside and just decided not to do the match?
I don't know. That's it's really up in the air at the moment, because they seem to be moving Loomis into a feud with LA Knight, at least temporarily. And so I don't know what's really next for the North American Championship. I think it makes sense to go back to the Loomis thing, even though I don't want to see it. But in the meantime, it could really be anybody fighting for that title right now.
Drop your comments below. Tell us your thoughts on who is going to be next in line for either to win the championship or at least just to contend for it. Because we had then 2 more matches left on this card. We had the NXT Championship match, which was billed as one of the 2 main events, hence why it's one of the last ones. But normally this would be the last match on the card, and I can see why they didn't do that. I like the match quite a bit, though. I think that this is probably the best Karrion Kross match that we've had so far, because it was actually a match and not a squash.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this match. It was my favorite match of the night.
I think you can make the argument that it was the best. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was very, very physical, which I think you needed to do. Kross looked like a beast in many aspects of it, but honestly, and I haven't really said this too much, and maybe it's been a bit unfair that I don't say this too much, Balor looked amazing in this match. I don't know, there was just something about me watching Finn Balor, and I just felt, okay, this guy's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, actually one of the best ones, because the way that he structured this match, the way that he was going for submissions, the way that he was trying to control Kross and tell the story of he was getting in Kross's head and he was trying to outwork him and tire him out constantly, and it made when Kross did the powerful moves and started fighting back and showing that he's got more endurance than Balor gave him credit for, it made that a lot more powerful because of the way that Balor was working. I think Balor had a performance in this match as good as I've seen anybody have a performance in any match in probably the last year or so.
He was the one that was anchoring this for sure. And
yeah.
I was surprised about that, because I thought that this would be a little bit more of a squash than it was, but he was the one in charge for like 75% of the match or so.
Yeah, they did tell the story of just him being more wily and Kross getting into, obviously, when Kross hit, it hit harder because he is just a mountain of a man. But it was more about how Balor is more experienced, has more technique about his approach, and that was getting the better of Kross. But for Kross, it was a story of resilience and a story of, even though he was letting his emotions get the better of him, that was allowing him to just beat the shit out of Balor whenever he got the opportunity to. And Balor just using his smarts and his more, again, the wily veteran side of him to withstand that and hopefully tire him out by the end of it. But he held on and obviously ended up winning the championship.
One of the things that they really liked doing tonight was talking about shots to the liver which was like these last two matches. It was just kind of like, there goes that liver again, you know?
That was really good though. Some of those stretches were just like they were excellently executed. The fact that he was just hitting strikes to the gut. It was clear what Balor's game plan was, which was to target the shoulder, obviously early on, because that was what Kross had injured beforehand, so it made sense to go with. And then when an opportunity presented itself, go for the ribs. And because when you go for the ribs in like any other sport, like boxing or MMA or anything like that, the main objective of that is to make them essentially start sucking air. So it was obviously, you know, with the rest of the thing, it's like it's all scripted, but it was scripted like it was reality, and that's the best type of wrestling.
Yeah, it was pretty believable that Balor would take the guy who's bigger than him and try to give him some sort of incapacitation like that. And then Kross just barrels through. He ends up being the tougher guy, as expected, the bigger guy, and wails on him a couple times. And that's kind of the thing that changes things around, is he breaks out of a submission and just starts beating the crap out of him. And
Yeah,
just,
that was awesome.
A couple strikes to the head and Balor goes limp. I actually thought that was going to be the end of the match.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been happy with it, but I liked how, even though, as you said, rightly so, that Balor had taken about 75% of the match, I liked how convincing the finish was in Kross's favour. Because after Balor had worked him over, and then Scarlett is there at ringside and helps essentially like give him a second wind, give Kross a second win. He breaks out of the submission. He starts just raining down forearms to the back. He goes limp. And then it's just a flurry of big moves. German suplex, huge clothesline, does his Saito suplex, then hits again, I'm not a huge fan of the forearm to the back of the neck, but at least this time he did so many things beforehand. It was like, it wasn't the same, but it was like Walter hitting the chop at the end of the match. It was like, okay, he did so much to Balor that it just took a few of those moves to knock him out eventually.
Yeah, and sooner or later you get a forearm to the back of the head, you're probably not gonna just be like,
yeah,
all right, I'll kick out of that one. You know?
Yeah, and Balor sold it great as well. So it's not the greatest move, but when it's sold the right way, it can look impressive. So I thought this was excellent. This is the best that I've seen Kross look. He looked like a legitimate champion and looked like a legitimate beast during this match. And hopefully it's the start of Finn going forward. But unfortunately, he's not going to be facing Finn Balor every single week. So I have to see where it goes from here. But Balor did everything he possibly could to make this guy look great tonight.
I will ding this match a little bit on one thing. I didn't like Balor's intro. I forgot to mention that. That's a little slideshow that led into just his regular entrance. I thought it was going to be leading somewhere kind of cool, and it's just, you go to like a high school reunion, or you go to a wedding or something, and people have that generic slideshow kind of a thing. I'm like, is this just gonna, I don't know, this Balor's greatest hits?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the main thing I noticed about the entrances. The main thing I noticed about the entrances was during Kross's one, the bit where Scarlett goes in between her legs. Scarlett goes between his legs and like comes up. She was staring at her right side constantly, and she seemed like she was petrified that she just had a wardrobe malfunction.
I didn't catch that.
No, she was just looking constantly down to the side, and I thought like, oh, she thinks that, and she clearly hadn't, because obviously there was nothing there to see, but she clearly thought that she had. And then I just noticed afterward when Balor was about to make his entrance that she just like adjusted herself and things like that. So she was clearly worried for a second there, but it was totally fine.
Rats. There you go. There's the biggest low point of this entire. Guess 5 says best match of the night by country mile. What about other measurements? If we're going with like suburban kind of things, rural.
Yeah, it was a few blocks down the road of great matches.
If it's a city mile, does it translate a little bit differently? I don't know. I'm not usually the best when it comes to those kind of things.
Yeah, it was on the top end of Great Match Alley.
Yeah, everybody in the comments hate me too. I know. So let's go to the actual main event, the Unsanctioned match, which I forget who it was in the Mega Maniacs, but somebody had brought it up about the idea that this match seems pretty sanctioned, where you've got a referee and commentators and announcers and everything just kind of, none of it seemed like it was anything different. At least AEW does the lights out, then the lights back on type of gimmick. And all they did this time around was the referee's got a black shirt on. And
Well, they did the lighting show at the start of it, which was a little bit different than some of the level ones.
they had the,
And the crowd
security. Yeah. Wish that they would have done something. I don't know what, but something.
Or tried to attack each other during the start of it and then separate them.
Yeah, something like that. Now I thought you were talking at first about the idea that that the security started attacking each other. That's what made me laugh.
Oh yeah, that's the new Undisputed Era.
Right, yeah. I am very disappointed about this music. Both Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, massive downgrade, especially Cole's, because he tried to work in the boom and the Adam Cole Bebe thing, and it doesn't fit. It's not catchy. O'Reilly's doing the air guitar, but there's no rhythm to it, and he doesn't have a belt, so it's a little weird too.
Okay.
Both of them just generic as all hell.
Mm. Well, at least Cole has Cole at the start of his, so you know who's coming out when it happens. Yeah, it's really just crappy, forgettable music, generic rock music for both of them. Whoever I don't know can't remember who it is. They've signed up to do it.
Def Rebel.
Yeah, they suck and need to be gotten rid of immediately. I don't want anyone to lose their jobs, but they're just not good at what they're set out to do.
I mean, they've had maybe like 30 themes. Maybe that's a little bit too much of an estimation, but like there's been a lot of themes that have been coming out recently, and there's maybe like 5 that I like. And it seems like the ones that I like aren't even the ones that are necessarily from Def Rebel. Like, I really like Keith Lee's, which for some reason they just still aren't putting out there. And I like Billy Kay's. But we've talked about this before about, I don't know why there's this edict about you should have either the most generic thing possible or something that's pretty generic and that they say the person's name ahead of it. I really don't like that idea of just like, O'Reilly, kind of whatever. And no, give me something that I can sing along to. Give me something I want to download and, actually play on another future edition of Play the Game. That sucked. That was a bad intro to this, was just going, oh man, neither of them got a good theme. Not even like that it's not as good, but it's still good. Just, they both suck. So, bad news for that end. I, at one point, realized even more so that we're in a weird spot with this crowd on Saturday and Sunday, because even the NXT crowd had a "We Want Tables" moment, and they were chanting for Cole. And I'm like, man, Saturday and Sunday is going to be weird.
Yeah, it's the "We Want Tables" chants made me just regret the entire idea of WrestleMania having a crowd. Just like, okay, yeah, I forgot how much I hate these people.
I hope that everybody is on their best behavior. I hope that they, and I don't mean that by like that they do whatever WWE wants them to do, because that's not the same kind of thing. I want you to cheer who you want to cheer, boo who you want to boo, and let WWE know the way that things have been going in some ways, because that's the only way that they'll know some of the reaction. Is if they ignore all the social media and they have just an echo chamber, then they're going to go, oh, everything's perfect because look at what we played in the background. Like we hit the cheer button, so they must like it. But I don't want a crowd that chants for CM Punk, for instance. Just don't do it, guys. They'll do it anyway. There'll be AEW chants and crap.
Well, it depends how bad the stuff that they see on WrestleMania will be.
If you're going to do that during one of those matches, though, do it during one of the matches that deserves it. Like
Orton against the Fiend.
Yeah. Orton and Fiend was the one I was thinking of. But like, I don't know, maybe if we get like a really bad women's tag team title match and it ends up being like, all right, we're a couple minutes in and this is garbage and it's just not ending. Or maybe we get something that's really bad with like the way that they book Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. And if you end up wanting to boo that, then, boo it.
Or like Reginald interferes in the women's title match.
Yeah, something like that too. God, then just let them have it. Just rain down a bunch of boos, and hopefully they won't take that as, you see, Reginald's over with this, so that means we're doing a good job, because they could always twist it in that way. As long as they're making a reaction. I'm disappointed a little bit in the chain here. And this is just my own, I set myself up for something here. When Adam Cole hooked the chain to the rope and I saw how long of a chain it was, I was like, oh, cool. He's going to hook it onto the other side. And it didn't happen. I'm just disappointed. I just wanted this chain in the middle of the ropes. I thought that would have been kind of cool.
I mean, I like the chain assisted clothesline. I thought that was a good spot. I don't know what the chain was adding to any of the submission holds.
Yeah.
Because essentially it was just wrapping around. If they did something where he applied the figure 4 leg lock, let's say, and then he tied a chain around it to try and keep the legs tied together, that'd be one thing. It was more like, that was just that Wade Barrett was just shouting down the thing, oh, the figure 4 leg lock with the assist of the chain. It's like, well, the chain's just around his leg. It's like, it's not doing any extra damage. It's not tightening with Adam Cole at the same time.
Yeah. He could have done something where they could have wrapped it up and then he's in the figure 4 and he's pulling on the chain to yank it a little bit more on the side, just beyond what the figure 4 can even do. Or he's got his hands are tied up in that. So then he's hooked up in the figure 4 and he can't move his hands either. So he has to just kind of tap out or something, you know. There's been some ways that we've done chain stuff in the past. Like on any part of this, that they've done chain stuff in the past that have been a little bit cooler. But when he hooked it on the one side, I was just like, maybe he's going to hook it in there. And then I started to get a little nervous, actually, that because Kyle O'Reilly kept wrapping it around his leg, I was thinking, oh, he's going to get wrapped up in there and it's going to get locked. And then that's how Cole was going to get a win. Thankfully, it didn't happen. I was rooting for Kyle O'Reilly, so. We had a toolbox. We had, for a little bit, it became the Undisputed Chera because they had the logo on some chairs. And I enjoyed this match, but I can understand why a lot of people are going to kind of poo-poo it a little bit for how long it went, because I do think it could have been trimmed.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it was a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. It was a very, very good match. It feels like I've seen this happen before in NXT. Again, they've done other sort of matches, and so I don't want to shit in it too much because those matches were good as well, and I don't want to take away from the effort that these two put into it. I just would have preferred the show ends 10 minutes earlier. So, and that's again, that feels like I'm trying to shit on their performance a little bit, but it went on for about 30 to 45 minutes, and it's just too long. You just don't need to do matches this long. And yeah, I mean, it's weird because like there was a time where those sort of matches really stood out to me on NXT, and I really would fall in love with the Gargano and Ciampa stuff and the Adam Cole and Gargano stuff. And now it's just gotten to a point where I'd rather they just told concise, well put together matches and stories together rather than trying to always be epic all the time, because it just feels like they're trying too hard and it doesn't come across as organic or enjoyable anymore. Don't get me wrong, like as I've said multiple times, AEW suffers from this sort of condition as well, where they always feel like every match has to go that little bit longer. You need to kick out of just one more or two more things before you get to the finish. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think in this one, it was overdone. I think it could have been cut down by about 5 to 10 minutes, and it wouldn't have felt any less special.
Yeah, I think that trimming a little bit could go a long way. And if any match should have been the best booked as far as like just psychology goes, I think it should have been this one. But I'd give the edge to Kross and Balor, and I'd give the edge to Walter and Ciampa over that.
Oh yeah, I'd say those two stood out to me as like the better matches from the entire two nights. I would put this one. It's weird. I don't know whether I'd put this third or fourth, because I did like some other matches that were going on during the show as well. Like I liked the opener, so I was a big fan of Pete Dunne against Kushida. I'd probably put this in a similar level to that because they were just different matches. One was like a really quick sprint, and this one was more, again, it was trying to tell more story and be more dramatic and over the top. And it's not like it was bad by any stretch of imagination, like I keep saying, but it's more it was just more like selling constantly, talking to each other during the match, talking to each other, berating each other, trying to tell that epic story, and it was a bit overplayed in that regard.
Where do you think they go from here? Because they had a thing with Cole twitching, kind of like a Mark Henry doing the whole fish twitch.
Realistically, I think Cole should go up to the main roster and just sink or swim, essentially. Like, hopefully he does swim because he's actually a great talent, but we don't know what.
Not quite as like Bobby Fish, but
no, yeah. But we don't know what Vince is going to see of him, or what Vince is going to think of a guy that's that size going up there. O'Reilly should be built up with a few other feuds before challenging for the NXT Championship. I can see him being the guy to take the title off of Kross eventually.
Yeah, I can see that maybe being the case.
Yeah, other than that, I think you need to get rid of. I would say get rid of. But you need to move Cole to another brand, because otherwise there's no need for this story to end. And I don't want to see. It's weird because, like, again, it's just you should come out of these matches feeling like, oh, that was so brutal and epic and crazy, and I'd love to see them do it again. I just feel like, yeah, I saw it once and now I'm okay. Like, I don't need to see these two wrestle again.
Yeah, I'm cool with them not doing a loser leaves town thing like I had suggested. Yeah. This had enough of a finish to it. It was definitive. Kyle O'Reilly won. Cole's taken out on a stretcher, which that proves at this point that no surprise after WrestleMania, I would assume. Mm. And then, I mean, they could still do it. It's not like they've flown out of logic before. But
if they were to do another match again and do the loser leaves town thing, I want it to be on TV. Mm. Because then by TV, they're restrained by the time limit.
Unless they started at 8 o'clock and they do a 2-hour long match.
Well, at least at that point they can just go, we don't have competition anymore. We can do what we like, and it's just like, at least then it'll be some sort of novelty.
Yeah.
Like, wow, it's like it gets to a point where a match is going on too long, and then it goes even longer, and then you're just enthralled. Not enthralled, but you're just like mesmerized by it, by how long it's going.
Yeah, it's like I think it's South Park that makes the idea of the joke where it's like you make the joke enough times, it's not funny anymore. Eventually, you keep making the joke, and it's going to be funny again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, to have a 2-hour long Iron Man match, do it. Why not?
But there was some good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the idea of Cole going up to the main roster if and only if, and this is the same thing with everybody else who's great, like Ciampa or Gargano, if Triple H can have some kind of pull with it, because we've seen too many people like Tyler Breeze who they go up and it's like, oh, cool, this guy could win the Intercontinental Championship like tomorrow. And then within like a couple weeks, it's like, oh, okay, this guy could get fired like tomorrow, kind of thing. And then I don't want Cole to be in a position where he goes from being a big fish in a small pond, to go back to that little analogy, to being a guy who Vince thinks is funny if somebody makes him look like shit because he's tinier, But I want to see Cole against Styles. I want to see Cole Bryan. And I don't want to be in a position where Cole and Gargano and Ciampa are only in NXT and they're only ever fighting people who are on the rookie spectrum. Give me the matches against the Randy Ortons and the, people aren't going to clamor for it as much, but the Ciampa Orton match. I want to see it. I want to see Gargano against, I don't know, Bobby Lashley. Do those matches, do it while you can, especially with the idea that people aren't traveling as much. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe we get some of that going forward. I'm getting more and more of a feeling that it's going to be one of the two extremes. Either once we get past WrestleMania, WWE is going to put even less effort into everything, and that's going to be very, very dicey. Or there's going to be this sigh of relief and then a whole okay, we can experiment a little bit now. And we don't have to worry about the road to WrestleMania. We've got a year. let's just see what happens. Let's move these people around. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's freshen things up. Let's shake things up again. That kind of a thing. Of course, that could be a mess as well, but I'm kind of like hesitantly excited about post-Mania in a way. I don't know if I should be or not.
I mean, I wouldn't put in that amount of faith. That's as long as you're willing to admit that it's just blind optimism rather than actually expecting anything.
Yeah, my eyes are fully closed in that scenario.
Yeah, then that's totally fine. I mean, I'll never criticize people for being blindly optimistic about certain things. It's better than being pessimistic when there's no reason to be.
Peter asked, how's it possible for WWE to do less? One rule of thumb, you can always do less. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It can always get worse, too.
Yeah. I'd be quite interested to, I'm assuming you may discuss this with him on the hot tags, but I'd be interested to see what Rob's take on this match was.
As far as I'm aware, he hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, because I think that, I mean, whether he ends up watching it before you do the hot tags tomorrow or not, he was the guy that was obviously most into this match out of anything, arguably anything over the entire weekend. He was more into this match than anything. So I'd want to see what his perspective is coming out of it. And I don't want to, again, I'm not going to talk to him before he watches it because I don't want to push him in one direction or another. But it's just a case of, it'd be interesting if he comes back and says, oh my God, that match was so unbelievably epic. And then he listens to what we had to think about it. And then he just says that, yeah, because we haven't really even talked about the match. We've just more talked about the fact of, yeah, it probably went on too long. The music sucked. Blah, blah.
Yeah, because I mean, to be honest, I can't really pinpoint a whole lot of things during the match. It was just sort of, it sounds awful. And I know people are going to be like, oh my God, you don't like anything. This isn't me saying I don't like anything. I like the match. I think it could have been maybe like 5 minutes, a little bit shorter, but I really do like the match. But in the grand scheme of things, it was a bunch of moves. And,
yeah,
I'm not going to be looking back on this at the end of the year and saying, this spot, that spot, this was great, the story in this part was whatever. It was just a good match. It wasn't anything that is an epic tale that had the most entertaining moments of the entire year or anything. I just enjoyed it, so I can't really break down, okay, well, in this part, he did Adam Cole's move, and he hit him with a Shining Wizard. Okay, well, he did it. What do you want to talk about with it? He did it. The end. Like it's kind of how that works.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where I'm going to go like in the moment I could enjoy it and soak it in, but it's not something that I will realistically go seeking out again, and not something that I remember a huge amount of details about what happened during the match later on. And probably, I guess, the biggest indictment I can say about this match is that it's not going to be anywhere near my thinking when it comes to Match of the Year candidates.
Yeah, I don't think we got a Match of the Year out of either of these two. But if we did, it wouldn't be this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the closest we came was Walter and Ciampa.
It's probably my favorite match of the two, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that'll necessarily be the Match of the Year because there's some...
Better not be.
There's plenty of other matches that'll happen. I mean, I wouldn't be super upset if that was the Match of the Year, but it's like it'll be a one to... It's one that sets the bar right now. I mean, I'm not sure. Were there better matches this year so far?
Let me bring up my notes
because I wasn't as big a fan of either Royal Rumble this year.
I don't know if I have anything actually down on my list. I've been keeping my list open to the public where everybody can read. Actually, yeah, I have nothing written down for best or worst match for this year so far.
Yeah,
so I might have to change that on the spot. I might have to add.
You haven't added Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss as one of the worst matches of the year so far.
If I remember correctly, I thought that it was better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, but how much better does it need to be to not be in the worst match of the year category?
I guess maybe I'm saving it for Orton and Wyatt.
Yeah, well, that will definitely be somewhere, especially if they have an actual singles match. If they fucking project worms, I'm going to laugh, but I'm still going to hate it.
I almost want them to at this point, just to be like, okay, we get it. It's not going to be all that good. We spent way too much time. You know what's funny? This is one of those things where I hate being right in some scenarios. I like being right when I'm right, but I don't like it when I'm being negative and it ends up being right. And we keep talking about this idea that I keep talking into existence. The Bray Wyatt's just, you put another costume change on him and he doesn't change, kind of a thing. After going on for months about how much I hated that Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio feud, Rollins recently in an interview the other day was like, yeah, that overstayed its welcome and it wasn't all that good and whatever. I'm like, thank you. My God, the last two big feuds that Seth Rollins had went on for an entire year for two feuds. The Kevin Owens one and the Rey Mysterio one. And both of them, I was like, can you move the frig on? Like, just
Did he really say that?
Yeah.
Because from what I saw from one of his interviews, it was more of a case of, I was really proud of the eye for an eye match, and I thought I love the fact that not being involved with the fans in front of us means that we can tell longer and more intricate stories than before, and bloody bloody blah, I'm such a whiny bitch. That was kind of what I kind of got his, that was kind of the take that I took from his interviews there.
There's part of it where he's saying that he's good, it's good that you can tell long-term storytelling and everything, which they love that phrase. But then he admits that it overstayed its welcome and it just sort of fizzled out at the end. And I'm like, yeah, that's because it overstayed its welcome by like 5 months. Yeah. If it was a 1 month storyline, you condense that whole thing and you get rid of the Aaliyah elements of it, then the idea of he injures Rey Mysterio's eye and Dominic starts fighting to kind of like balance things out, and you get rid of Karrion and you get rid of Aleister Black, and because they were just fodder in that and it made no sense. Then okay, a 1 month storyline, it could have been okay, could have been fine, but they dragged that out for like an entire year almost, and God, that was awful. So maybe we're going to come around to a point where they're finally going to admit, you know what, we probably shouldn't have had Orton against Wyatt for anything, let alone for November all the way through April. But we'll talk about that on Saturday and Sunday. It's Sunday, right? Night 2? I think it's night 2.
Yeah, their match? Yeah, no, I think it's night 1. Cesaro and Seth Rollins is night 1.
No, the Orton and Wyatt one.
Oh, Orton and Wyatt is night 2, yeah. No, Orton and Wyatt is night 2.
Yeah, the Cesaro and Rollins one, that should be great. I'm looking forward to that one. That's actually one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most, which is weird. A match that serves no purpose and has nothing on the line, and I'm like, yeah, just swing them. That'd be fun,
At a pay-per-view where there's been absolutely no storyline development, those are the matches that you most look forward to, the ones where it can be a good match.
True, yeah. It's not like I can really look forward to the culmination of the big feud between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, that's for sure. Will they or won't they establish if girl So anyway, that's TakeOver. I am honestly a little bit disappointed about night 2. I think that if you combine night 1 and night 2 and you had one super long pay-per-view, overall I would give it a thumbs up. But I think if you were to pick a 5-match card out of this, a lot of them would have been tonight. And if that would have been the one and only show, I think I would have looked on it as more of a negative in some ways. Kross Balor, great. The end of the night, the Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole match, if they would have trimmed that down a little bit, which they probably would have, then I'm sure that I would have thought that was even better, and I liked it. And I liked the ladder match, and I liked some other elements to it, but if they would have had, say, the Way match or the Gargano match, I think they would have weighed it down a little bit. Maybe they wouldn't have gotten on the card, I don't know. Actually, yeah, I don't know, because yesterday they wouldn't have had the Walter match. It probably would have been you replace the women's tag match with the Raquel and Io Shirai. And then is there anyone from yesterday that probably would have taken the North American match?
The tag title match, maybe?
Yeah, true. All right. So then if you would have replaced it with that, I would have liked that better then, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that night 2 was as big of a success or didn't make me feel as excited as I was at the end of night 1. But yeah, Balor and Karrion Kross, big double thumbs up for that one. I was a fan of the Gargano and Bronson Reed match. The Unsanctioned match was good, if not something that I'll go back and watch again. The first 2 matches left me a bit cold. So yeah, I'd say overall one was the far better night. But overall, for NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, it's a positive, thumbs up for the two shows combined.
Yeah, tell us what you guys think. Did you like Stand and Deliver one night more than the other? Did you like both nights? Disappointed on both? Whatever it might be. Is Stand better? Is Deliver better? We're going to have that debate for the rest of our lives. I don't know. And make sure that you follow along with everything else that we're doing, because this is not the end of the pay-per-view points for this week. As we mentioned before, we're doing these live shows for WrestleMania as well. So stay tuned to that on Saturday and Sunday. And before we get to that point, we're going to have the hot tags tomorrow night. So we're going to address the go-home show before WrestleMania. We're going to talk about whatever changes it might be. Maybe there's going to be something to talk about that's pretty decent as far as the WrestleMania edition of SmackDown. So we'll let you know who won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Not that it really matters. And whether or not the SmackDown tag team titles changed hands. And talk about a couple other things as well. You know, typical hot tags sort of scenario. And then roll on to the weekend. So all these things are happening, and you can always just find out whatever is happening on smarkoutmoment.com by subscribing in all the different platforms that we've got, even including the RSS feed if you really want to know when all the things get posted on in all facets on the website. So that is stuff you'll find there. Obviously, subscribe and ring that notification bell on YouTube. Do the same things for fanboysanonymous.com if you want to check to see what we've got going over on the Blue brand. There are those contests that I mentioned. There's also the Smark Madness tournament. There's the merchandise shops. And I got plenty of other things that I've got in the pipeline as far as the Wrestling News and Bleacher Report. I've got some other projects I'm working on as well, and we'll see if I can get around to doing them at any time soon. Hopefully I can. And then Callum's got his stuff over that you can find him over on social media and everything as well.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Weekmeister14 if you're so inclined to do so. Make sure you're checking out all the articles on smarkoutmoment.com. Power Rankings is my usual contribution, but make sure you are reading all the other stuff as well, because there's plenty of great stuff going out. And yeah, if you want to inject even more wrestling content into your veins between now and the end of the weekend, then of course you can listen to me and Rob go back in time with 2001 A Wrestling Odyssey and the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast. So if you want to get your fill of late Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era content, then that's where you'll find it. And there will be more to come in the, I can't say near future, but definitely in the future.
All right, everybody, you can follow me at Tony Mango and under a mango tree. And you can just kind of chat me up and let me know what you think about anything all throughout the weekend. I'm going to try to be more active on Twitter and just kind of respond more to different things. So, if you got a thought in your mind in the middle of the day or something, tweet at me. I'll try to tweet back at you. That'll do us in for the Pay-Per-View Point Night 2 for TakeOver Stand and Deliver. I want to thank you for checking us out in the chat. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for listening to us afterward if you weren't able to. And we want to thank you for all of your support in whatever fashion it is, whether it's that applause button or the join button or the like button or the subscribe button or the Patreon donations or whatever it might be, including just listening. So that's going to do us in. For now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.